Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Can everyone hear me okay? Is my mic coming in 5 by 5? Hopefully it is 5 by 5. All right. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it. This is a bit of a late night one. Was originally going to do this at 8:30, then pushed it to 9, then 9:30, then 9:45, then 10:30. Now back to 10:15. I've been all over the place with this one today. Part of that is due to an ear issue I'm having in my left ear. Quick story, if you don't mind. I one time went to Barcelona, went to the Mediterranean, and was swimming in the ocean, went underwater, and my ear got clogged really bad. First time that ever happened. I grew up near the ocean. I've swam my entire life. My ear got so clogged, though, that I had to go to the hospital in Spain. And that was a decade ago. And ever since then, I've honestly never been totally right in that ear. And it started acting up again. So I've been struggling with it all day. It's been really, really rough. Didn't know if I was going to even do this one. We'll see how my ear does throughout it. When it does, and it will just go from fine to clogged immediately. And when it's clogged, like I cannot hear at all. It's literally like the ear has shut off. So a little stressful, not super awesome, but I'm kind of struggling through it. This will be a great distraction. Nice to see you all here. Yeah, ENT. Yes, Michael, I did make an appointment for an ENT. I've been to one in the past, been years ago, but I made an appointment next week at 9 a.m. Wednesday. I'm going. Very happy about that. Really good ENT doctor in town. They're going to take a look at me. Might still go to urgent care in the morning, though, just to see if they can do any flushing. So yeah, I thought it was swimmer's ear. I'm wondering if there's some sort of compacted wax or something. I don't know. I'm not really sure. I could even have a slight ear infection. I'm not 100% sure, to be quite honest with you. But it's not been fun. It's been pretty brutal, to be totally honest with you. But thank you all for hanging in there. Michael Phillips says ENT changed my life so good. Yeah, I'm hoping it does the same for me. I really, really do. It's like I said, it's been pretty rough, and I'm hoping to go next week so that I have it done in time to go to Quantum Vegas and have a good time there. So, anyways, everyone, we're not here to talk about my ear. We're here to talk about Star Citizen and Starjump. It's been kind of a cool week so far, okay? And it's only Tuesday night, or what is it? Wednesday night? It's Wednesday night. Sorry. It's what day is it? I don't even know what day it is. Is it Wednesday? That's how bad it is for me right now. It's Wednesday. Okay. But anyway, it's only Wednesday, and it's been a pretty interesting week for Star Citizen. We're going to get into a lot of stuff. I'm really happy you're all hanging out with me today, so thank you all for showing up. I think this is going to be a fun one. So here we go. Let's go ahead and get into this a little bit. First off, I want to, as I always do. Nope, that's not what I wanted to show. Sorry, I gotta switch back over to my left monitor. You're seeing behind the scenes. There we go. There we go, everybody. I wanted to show off once again Quantum Vegas 2955. I'm sure if you're going, you've already got your tickets. I will be there this weekend. Yep, Infinity. Sorry, Ninja. Quantum Vegas coming up this weekend. I'm next weekend, not this weekend, next weekend. Very excited for that. I'm going to be out there. I'm really excited to meet Sean Tracy and Sandy Roberts from CIG. I want to get some photos with them. And I'm going to be doing a really cool panel on Starjump Fleet Viewer specifically. So if you're going to Quantum Vegas 2955, do two things. One, hopefully you're going to have a great time and meet a lot of great people. And two, if you see me out and about, if I'm not on stage doing a panel, but if you see me walking around, milling about, chit-chatting stuff, come up to me, say hello, introduce yourself. I would love to meet you all. I'm really excited for meeting people in person, so seek me out. I will be wearing this hat, which I'm enjoying. New Starjump cap, kind of a dark gray cap, Starjump logo on it. that is what I'll be wearing, so you will be able to see me pretty easily. Jeff Horton says, I have a ticket for Quantum. I can't go. Work issues. Anyway, can I give it to anyone? Well, anyone. If you're anywhere near the Vegas area, maybe driving distance, 4 or 5 hours away, whatever, talk to Jeff. Hit Jeff up. Maybe you all can find a way to contact, or if you're having trouble getting in contact with each other, maybe you can both contact me on Discord. And I can get us in a group message or something. So, regardless, if you think you can go to Quantum Vegas 2955, looks like Jeff has a ticket. Get in on that. Going to be really cool. Again, Sandy Roberts is going to be there from CIG. How cool is that? Okay, Sandy Roberts herself. Sean Tracy from CIG is going to be doing a panel there. Galactica and Xylo will be there. And for those of you that don't know, they've been doing the Bar Citizen World Tour. And at those events, at the Bar Citizen World Tours, they've been giving away this to people that are in attendance, I believe, this special thing for your hangar in Star Citizen that is a hologram of a Van Duel skull, if I can talk, Van Duel skull. Oh, my God. So I'm hoping to grab one, obviously, for myself there, but I'm also hoping to grab one that I can give away or something. That'd be really cool. Starjump Starlet, salute to you. Hope you're well. Everyone give Starlet a little salute there. Appreciate it. But again, a whole bunch of awesome people are going to be there. DePoets, Commander Fran, Daniel Raymond from Ray's Guide, Paul Shelley, the Astro Historian, Serious Fun, Griffin Gaming from Soul Citizens, Commander Fran from Beacon Events, yours truly, Nick at Night, of course, and Nate and Kim Ellis from EE Studios. I was supposed to have them on here before the event, but it looks like that's not going to happen, so I'm going to get them on Starjump Station after the event. That's the plan. That's the plan. Let's see. Locked In says, is Quantum Vegas going to be recorded? So those of us who can't go. So I have heard a little bit about that, Locked In. It's not going to be recorded. They do want to keep the event because it's the first one, and it's kind of a smaller, sort of intimate thing. I think there's only 300 people. They're trying to keep it a little small, a little special, a little intimate. However, there's going to be portions of it recorded. And then later broadcast. I know the Machinima Awards, because they're doing Machinima Awards, those are going to be recorded and broadcast, possibly streamed, I forget. And then I believe panels will be recorded, yes, but and then possibly broadcast later. It says here no record, but possibly, yeah, but no recording on location, no live streaming of the event. I will say that if CIG does give out any good information there, I have no doubt it will be recorded and broadcast out, after the event. I'm sure people there in attendance will make sure to disseminate any information that CIG maybe, talks about. Again, we'll have Sean Tracy there. You never know what info Sean may have for us. He is a serious OG at Star Citizen or at Cloud Imperium Games. He's been there, I think, literally from day one, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat. So he's pretty high up, and I think he could have some interesting information. You never know, or at least some very interesting, context to stuff we sort of already know about. So, Mootkins, are you going to be there? Panels will be recorded, but no recording inside the location. Yeah, let me know if you're going to be there. Yeah, it's going to be a cool lineup of people. I'm very excited, and there's a couple of these people that I've just grown to know sort of on the side that I'm really interested in finally meeting. So, for example, Commander Fran, I've worked with him in the past on Beacon. DePoets, me and him have gone back and forth a little bit. So it's going to be great to meet some of these people. Mookin says, I'm actually volunteering. Oh, awesome, Mookins. Make sure you grab me. I can't wait to meet you, man. Can't wait to meet you. Unfortunately, Rabbit, it will not be live streamed. It will not be live streamed. But if you go to the website, a lot of information here. You can buy your tickets right from there. They're going to have the Machinima Awards here. You can see the nominees for that. Really, really cool. I think Galactica is the one overseeing that. There is a full program here with all the stuff here. Now, my panel is still listed wrong. I may need to get Griff to change that. It says Starjump Shipyard, and then that's kind of all it says, but essentially what it's going to be is it's going to be on Starjump Fleet Viewer. So it's going to be primarily about Fleet Viewer. I may want to get him to even switch out this logo to Fleet Viewer logo. But anyways, hope to see you all there. Really, really cool. Again, it's been a cool week so far. As you know, I did a show on Tuesday, a Shipyard episode where we talked all about Mark II variants. Our good friend VMXEO was on the show. Execute stopped by for a short bit, and we rapped about different Mark II variants. One of the things you'll remember that I showed off was sort of a kit bash experimental run or sort of experimental build of an Aurora Mark II that I was kind of messing with, completely fan made. And it was Lazy Donuts '07. Hope you're well. Salute to you, buddy. And we were doing a kit bash of an Aurora Mark II, and this is what I came up with right here. Pretty cool. I still like it. This is what I call my Aurora Mark II, borrowing elements from the Zeus and the Mantis and sort of bringing those into an Aurora, especially bridge section of an Aurora, flattened, shaped, slightly bigger than a standard Aurora, but I really, really dig it. Hey, it's JoJo TV. Everyone, make sure you give It's JoJo TV a big old salute. If you haven't gone to his channel and followed his channel, make sure you follow his channel. Absolutely amazing content. Seriously, if you're looking for good YouTube Star Citizen content, It's JoJo TV does some amazing stuff. So make sure you give JoJo a follow if you haven't already, but you probably already have. So it was a great Starjump Shipyard show. One really cool surprise is we had a couple of CIG people stop by, which was really awesome. C Daddy CIG stopped by, which is always great to see C Daddy. C Daddy, if you're lurking right now, salute to you. I hope you're well, buddy. And then really, really cool, because it's the first time I've seen him in one of my streams, was the senior game director for Star Citizen, Richard Tyrer. That was a really big treat for me. Those of you that have watched my streams in the past will know that I've been pretty unapologetic when it comes to Star Citizen 1.0 and the vision laid out in or at CitizenCon. And it was just a treat to have Rich in the stream for a minute, because I'm a big fan of his 1.0 vision, and I'm sure it's a bunch of people's vision, but the way he laid it out, the way he talked about it at CitizenCon, just really reaffirmed all my beliefs and hopes for Star Citizen. So it was really great to have him in the chat. See, Daddy CIG is in chat. He's indeed lurking. See, Daddy, appreciate you stopping by as always, brother. I hope you're doing well. Salute to you. It's always great to have CIG folks hanging out. He may be lurking. I do know one of my buddies from Bethesda is lurking right now. I won't call out his name, but salute to you. I hope you're doing well as well. So those of you who don't know, I originally went to school for game design many, many years ago, about 25 years ago. Went to school for game design. Around my senior year of school, I ended up switching to audio engineering and animation. Primarily 3D and 2D motion graphics animation, and kind of went that route. But a lot of my friends at school and stuff continued on into the games industry where they are today. Still have a lot of friends that work in the game industry. Still fascinated by the business of the game industry. So yeah, a lot of good friends at Bethesda, good friends at Rockstar, especially because I was in New York for a long time. I actually worked right above Rockstar's offices, which was kind of funny. But lots of friends in the game industry, some really great, hardworking people. Mookin says, kind of off topic, but thoughts on the Microsoft Xbox layoffs? Yeah, always unfortunate to hear. It sounds like the Microsoft layoffs are a big kind of global company layoff. I think it's like 9,000 employees or so today. And I do know there was a good portion of those under the Xbox, kind of department. And I'm sure those had trickle down effects on into things like Blizzard and other game studios. I'm not really sure. I haven't got all the information, to be quite honest with you, yet. I just heard a little bit tangentially. So in order to not sound like an idiot, I won't go too far into it. I have been getting back into World of Warcraft a lot lately. I've been playing the game since 2006. I'm a big fan of WoW. I've had my ups and downs with it, but I still play it pretty often, and have been getting back into it again. And I was, very curious how they were weathering the storm along with a few other studios that I know some people at. So hopefully everyone out there is held on to the jobs. The game industry, much like the industry I'm in, which for those that don't know, I am in the film and television industry, worked primarily in the film industry early on in my career, and then and then switched mostly into like television. But I'll tell you, it's also very turbulent, and sort of goes through frequent upheavals. Frequent upheavals is about the best way to say it. So, hey everyone, don't forget, we got a Perseus giveaway right now. Here's a link in chat. Make sure you go there and get in on that Perseus giveaway if you haven't already. If you're over on YouTube, by the way, because I can do that over there, I'm going to go ahead and pin that link to the top of chat. Make sure you go there, register a bunch of free ways to get in on that Perseus giveaway. We'll be giving that Perseus away at the end of July, I think the last day of July. So you're going to make sure, you want to make sure to get in on that. Again, that is going to be for a RSI Perseus gunboat with 120 months insurance. We're going to go over a little bit of that real quick. But first and foremost, big news out of CIG this week, and that is the referral revamp. Who's ready to talk about that? I know some of you are talking Kraken in chat. You know we're going to get to it. You know we are, because this is Starjump Grim. You know we're going to talk about the Kraken. We have to, right? I'm not sitting here with a Kraken mug for nothing. Okay, when you're a super special Kraken captain like me, you get a mug. I am a Kraken captain, so I know everything there is to know about that ship. So I'm very, very excited. We're going to go into all the ships that are in the PU monthly report. We are going to discuss them. But before we get to that, let's talk a little bit about the referral program. Citizen Ninja says this is the Kraken channel that also covers Star Citizen. That's true. That is very true. Major Chug says he's tweaking. I get it. I 100% get it. Lux Spew, APAC, thank you for the follows. Appreciate that, everyone. We're hurtling towards our big follower goal, so thank you very much for that. Let's take a look at the referral revamp, everybody. It has been totally redone. You can see a new leaderboard here. The old referral program, I believe, had been in place for quite some time. I'm not sure how long, but quite some time. The rewards had kind of not changed. There were some great rewards in it, though. Everything from a Gladius all the way to a Javelin. You could actually get a Javelin if you somehow managed to get to the end of that sort of referral ladder. Yes, there were problems with it. I've always said that, but I still like that there was a referral system. Obviously, content creators, some content creators, especially content creators that create a lot of new player guides and stuff like that, I felt did really well in those referral programs, or just really prolific content creators, your morphologists, your so on and so forth, would end up getting to the top of those referral ladders, get the Javelin, all that good stuff. However, there were other people on there as well that I've actually spoke to, a few of them, when I was originally going to do a Starjump Station episode on the referral program. But it was interesting to hear some of the strategies used to attract players. Some of them were kind of wild and creative. But regardless, it was a system. And CIG came and told us earlier this year that the referral program was going to go through a revamp. I was really excited for it. I had a lot of thoughts on what it was going to be. We were given some information that there was going to be a lot of upfront rewards, and then those were going to start to taper after you start hitting sort of critical mass, right? That really excited me, right? Because it's that first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, eighth, ninth, 10th. Those are the ones that are hard to get. It's really hard to get them at the beginning, in my opinion, okay? And we just got hit with that today, and I gotta say, I think CIG nailed it. There are a few little issues. Xylo did post on Spectre today that there's still some launch issues they're fixing. One of the things, for example, is if you tried to share it on Facebook or X, it still said 5,000 credits instead of the 50,000. But one of the first changes is the recruits are going to get 50. You and the recruit will get 50,000 UEC to start, which is awesome. But check out some of the rewards. I think they're really cool. I'd like to know what you all think. The first, if you get one recruit, you get a CDS GCD Army medium armor set. This is essentially the UEE Army. So you hear a lot about the UEE Navy. A lot of our stuff around Star Citizen Squadron is themed around that. So now we're starting to see some Army stuff come in through the referral rewards program, and I think that's really, really cool, and I love the look of the stuff. So it'll be kind of special, and if you find someone wearing an Army set of armor or something, I think it's going to be kind of cool when you see that in the open world. So we have a armor set themed around that. It's a medium armor set. I believe this is an existing armor set, though. I would have loved maybe a little bit more of a unique helmet, but I think it is pretty cool. 2 recruits, you're going to get the Volts Quartz GCD Army SMG. Again, going off those new Volt SMGs, only this one is Army flavored, which is pretty cool. The next one is the Gladius Dunleavy model. I think this is really cool. It honors Captain Alexandria Dunleavy, who shaped the course of the UE Navy's Elite Squadron 42. I think this is just really cool, tying into Squadron 42. Next will be an Mirai Pulse Army Edition with paint. Again, that's at 4 recruits. That's not bad. 4 recruits gets you your first kind of vehicle, right? Mookin says, I just hope all the new referral items are going to be available in-game Pledge Store, especially the Raptor. I think they will be, Mootkins. I think there'll be ways to get that. You may have to grind up or craft it in some way, but I see there being a way there. I do see there being a way there. Guardian says, hey, Guardian, hope you're well. Guardian says, I was a bit disappointed because it takes so long to get to a ship. Would love to see everyone get both ladders in tandem. Yeah, I think you can. So, obviously, on 5 recruits, you get the Volt Parallax Assault Rifle. Very cool. Again, I love the Army paint scheme here. I think that's really cool. At 6 recruits, you get an Archibald Hurston figurine. I love that they're bringing some of the elements from the environment that we're used to seeing in as decor items. I think that's really cool, especially when we do start base building and building our own habs and all that stuff. This kind of stuff is going to start to have actual importance. Right now, it's not, but yeah. Art Cork Cog Sphere replica. This one's I really like this one. Actually, is one of my favorites. This is number 7, or when you get 7 recruits. Number 8 is a Stormwall sculpture replica. Obviously, the Stormwall sculpture from Orison. So really, really cool. I like that one a lot too. Wally's Bar hologram replica. That's super sweet. I didn't see that one before. At 9 recruits. Again, I think these are just really fun. Again, it gives you something to look forward to. They're small items. You know, it's not a ship or vehicle. They're these small items, but at least it's something. You're getting some feedback for that person securing an account. Big Benny's Classic Vending Machine. This is super cool. I really hope they make this workable in the future. Please, CIG, please, please, please make this workable in the future. That would be so cool. That is something I would definitely work for 10 recruits. Spirit of the Starman statue, really, really cool. That's at 15 recruits. So that's our kind of our first jump from 10 to 15. Get kind of a statue. I'm assuming this is life size, right? Okay, yeah, displays a life size unmanned pilot. That's cool. Oh, that one plays music, does it? Which one does? Which one plays music? Van Duel statue when you get to 25 recruits. So again, these are going to be kind of rare. So when you walk into someone's hab, their hangar, their base, and they got this thing front and center, that's going to be kind of cool because you're not going to see these everywhere, right? And in a verse where we don't see Van Duel very often or at all anyway at this point, other than masks, I think that's going to be really sweet. 42 recruits, which is kind of a cool number. You get the iconic Gladius Dunleavy ship, which is really sweet. Love the paint job. That's a big one. That's going to be a really big one. I think you originally got a Gladius at 10 recruits, right? Was it 10 recruits? So bit of a jump there. Lazy says Benny Machine plays music. Oh, awesome. So bit of a jump there, unfortunately, but Again, it's not that CIG can't make adjustments to this or slot ships in earlier, but at least it's not a standard Gladius. You did get the Gladius when you hit 10 recruits on the legacy leaderboard, but it was just a standard Gladius. This one is something a little special, right? And then at 50 recruits, you get the Misk Raptor. Misk Raptor is actually coming to the verse to be delivered at a later date. I don't know exactly what it will do. I'm thinking it's going to be like a little joke vehicle you can drive around. I know some people were thinking it's going to have some real usage. I don't necessarily think it's going to be anything that has any sort of like gameplay function. At least I don't think it would be. I think you're just going to be able to drive it around. I did have some people ask if it was coming to Fleet Viewer. Yeah, it is coming to Fleet Viewer eventually. 75 recruits get a Tumbrel Storm in the Army paint. Super cool. Again, great vehicle choice there for that paint job. 100 recruits. This was kind of an interesting one. You get a Freelancer Max and the Big Brands paint pack. That's pretty sweet. I would have loved if the paint packs would have been for multiple ships and there was several of them throughout the ladder. Sir Burticus, thank you for that follow. Appreciate you. So, for example, I would have loved these big brand ones on like a lot of the bigger cargo ships, like the Hull C, Freelancer Max, the Zeus CL, just any of those specifically cargo hauling ships. I think that would have been really sweet. The the Freelancer is just kind of I don't know. It's just such a narrow, it's just a sort of a narrow path to this reward. Obviously, you get the Freelancer Max with this, but you only get to enjoy this reward when flying that specific ship. It's okay. It's not bad. It's not bad. I just would have loved. I love the paint jobs a lot, so I would have loved to have seen them come to more ships. Maybe they will. 200 recruits. There's an unannounced vehicle to be revealed on October 11, 2020 at CitizenCon Direct. This may be something really, really cool. I had someone suggest to me that possibly it was the Hornet F7X. I hope it's not. I do hope the F7X is your reward for finishing Squadron 42. I think that would just fit really, really, really well. And the F7X isn't exactly an unannounced vehicle, so maybe this is something completely new. Yeah, CIG or CDaddy CIG says it's not the X. There you go, everybody. It's not the F7X. So there you go. Yeah. So there you go. I didn't think it would be. Again, I think if we do get our hands on the F7X at some point, it would be like a perfect Squadron 42 thing, tie-in. I don't know what CIG's plan is for Squadron's, promotional kind of marketing campaign, but I would have to think, like most game studios, they are going to probably have tiered game packages for Squadron 42. I wouldn't be surprised if some of those tiered packages included either paints or special armors or ships or something. That wouldn't shock me at all. So I think there's a lot of ways that we possibly could still get our hands on the F7X. I know a lot of people, including myself, are really excited for it. Or at the same time, maybe it's good that it's like super limited. Maybe it's only attainable in 1.0 through like crazy crafting grind. I don't know. But I do think you'll be able to get your hands on it someday. I just think it's probably going to be tied to Squadron 42, if I had to guess. So yeah, there you go. C Daddy says it's not the X. Didn't think it was. Says unannounced vehicle. So we'll find out October 11th. I mean, we are barreling towards CitizenCon Direct. It's only 3 months away at this point, people. 3 months. Isn't that crazy? My God, my daughter's starting back to school in 2 months. Oh my God. Crazy. That's going to be a fun weekend. October 11th, CitizenCon Direct. October 12th, my daughter's birthday. 500 recruits, really special reward here. This is the captured Vandal scythe. Remember, this is the captured one, right? This is the actual alien one. So super, super cool. And don't forget, these you're going to be getting the new models of these after Squadron 42 launches, or at least I believe that was the last we've heard. And the new models for these Vandal ships are freaking amazing. The CIG ship teams like knocked it out of the park with the new Vandal designs. Like they killed it. They look so cool. I just hate that we have to wait so long. I can't wait to get them in Fleet Viewer. But yeah, really, really cool. And then 1,042 referrals or recruits, I guess I should say. You get the Idris M, the full military spec Idris, which is really cool. And the nice thing about this versus the last tiered setup was as soon as you hit the 1,042 rewards, you get the Idris because it's out, right? Super cool. C Daddy CIG says the Foundation Festival paints are earned via the guide system. Yes, earned via the guide system, everyone. It's actually a lot of fun to do the Foundation Festival program. Me and Ender did it one time when they had a lot of different paints you could earn through different types of Foundation Festival tasks. And we spent a couple days just grinding through them and had a blast. And we earned a whole bunch of paints. It was really cool. Actually, still some of my favorite paints, actually. So anyways, that is the new referral system, everybody. Bear with CIG. Again, this just launched. There may be some tweaks. There may be some adjustments. But it is cool to see some of these legacy systems get looked at, get adjusted. If you are thinking about joining the game and you haven't yet and you want to use a code, feel free to use mine. Popping down in there right now, there is my code. You can enter that when you get an account, and hopefully that works. But there you go, everybody, the new referral program. Okay, now let's go to the next thing. I know a lot of you have been wanting to talk about this, the PU monthly report. You know we were going to talk about it. Matt Miller says, I have no friends in this game. Matt, join the Starjump Discord if you haven't already. I think this still works. Stand by. Join the Starjump Discord. You do have to do some rules there. Good group of people over there, but there's a lot of amazing orgs out of there. I do know Space Tomatoes org, the Garden Stellar Garden Interstellar. Yeah, Garden Interstellar, I believe it's. They're a great in-game org and do a lot of great stuff. We've been a little delayed on the Starjump org information. I told everyone that was coming out this summer. It's still probably coming. There's a few real life things that have put a pause in that, but we've got the entire Starjump org figured out. A website's actually being built as we speak. So the Starjump org will be there at some point. But Matt, there's a lot of ways to find really great groups in this game. I would highly, highly recommend, either Garden Interstellar or if you're into like industrial type gameplay, Sigelian's org, Ultima Energy is really great. Obviously, Test Squadron, if you're just looking for a massive org, is out there. Some of the Test Squadron folks we're really close with. So again, there's a lot of orgs there, a lot of great people in the community. You can definitely find friends easily. And the Foundation Festival time is a great time to make some new friends in game. Just keep your ear open, because one thing I do like about the Foundation Festival is I feel like people do kind of put on a mindset of like helping others during this event, and it is really cool. And sometimes I feel like you do see that some of the. It's already a pretty friendly game, but I do think the friendliness like ticks up a notch or two during this event. So. Oh yeah, for sure. No, it's good. There's a lot of great people in this chat even too, Matt. So hopefully you meet some great people. All right, here we go. Texas Space Navy. Yes, thank you, Jeff. Texas Space Navy is another great org. Matt should look into them. Texas Space Navy. Tell them Starjump sent you. They will know. Great group of people. Do I have some Texas Space Navy swag in here? They sent me a bunch of swag. I don't have it right here, but usually I do. APAC of 12 Ninja says, what type of org do you think Starjump would be? Industry, focus, mercenary, soldiers without borders. So Starjump, I can go ahead and give you a little bit of a primer. Starjump is going to be sort of a multifaceted corporation. We're going to be heavily industrial focused. However, we're going to have combat and recovery divisions that handle security, combat recovery, search and rescue. We're going to have those as divisions within the company to help protect our industrial assets and our industrial endeavors. So we're going to have a whole side of the org that is going to be focused on that. VG says, question, when will SJ org deets come out? Very, very, very soon. And I know I've been saying this for a long time, but I can tell you that pretty much all the details are worked out. Like, it's all laid out. I've got like 50 spreadsheets of everything about the org laid out, everything from its ethos to how the leadership will be set up to how the different divisions will be set up. And I think me, Ender, and some of the other stakeholders are getting into good alignment on it. There's a couple key principal people that'll be overseeing divisions I need to talk to, but we're really close, and I do want to get that information out. Let's go through the PU monthly report, everybody. Now, I'm not going to go through everything. I'm not one of those content creators that goes through every little thing in the monthly reports. You can read it yourself, obviously. I've always said I'm not really one of those people that will just regurgitate the news that CIG puts out. But I will cover, obviously, the stuff that is pertinent to my interests and that sort of, especially stuff that focuses a lot on the ships and or the gameplay related to the ships. Okay, so it's just what we focus on here. Obviously, I'm interested in other things in the game, but that's primarily what we focus on here. Altzilla says, can Starjump declare war on those uppity guys in lore? I don't know. Maybe. Michael Phillips says, I'm turning down organ bites left and right for Starjump. Oh, okay, Michael. Well, listen, guys. I am promising that is still coming very, very soon. Okay, within probably a month. Okay, I'm going to get the first details out. Okay, within a month. Mark it down. Lock it down within a month. Okay. All right. So a lot of AI stuff. And if you've looked at the monthly reports for actually pretty much the entire year so far, there's really been a big focus on AI stuff, from AI features to AI content, AI tech, etc. Some of that stuff, it's been pretty obvious where the need for that has arrived, right? It's been a very content-driven year. We're gonna take a look at the first 6 months of content here later in the show, but it makes sense that there's been so much focus on AI stuff with so much content stuff coming to us. It's also one of I look at the AI stuff along with things like Genesis, weather, all this stuff is what is bringing the world, the verse to life. So there's sort of two, I always look at star system development as sort of two buckets, right? There's the filling of the universe out with both active and passive things, right? And then there's features, right? Like actual gameplay loops, features, all that stuff. And a lot of the AI content, it's the stuff to me that sits right in the middle, right? It heavily ties into features, is going to have a big role to play there, but it also helps fill out the world and makes the verse feel alive. Whether it's, for example, there was what was it right here? Yeah, this one here. Says here, finally, for AI tech, fixes for NPCs driving vehicles were added. This is a feature the team hopes to add to the PU at some point. I mean, imagine in the future when we go down to a bunker or some sort of facility and you've got AI security driving, around and patrolling the outskirts in a cyclone, right? Ties into both gameplay and just bringing the world to life. I really love that. So, again, a lot of AI stuff in the monthly report. Getting down here, obviously they talk a lot about, on the animation side of things, they do talk a lot about stuff that we've been getting in the content patches. So obviously this one, there was a heavy focus on Stormbreaker stuff, so we hear a lot about the irradiated Valakars and Valakar animations and all that kind of good stuff. I think down at the bottom where the VFX stuff is talked about, they talk about effects for the Valakar, all that kind of good stuff. All right, here we go. Let's get down to ships for a minute. Let's talk these ships. Some big ship news. Big ship news. it's been a crazy last 12 months for ships already. Okay, but it's getting even crazier here. So it says here in the UK, the Anvil Paladin continued through Greybox with additional artists being moved on to it as their other tasks were completed to help prepare for its July gate review. Okay. What does that mean? Well, and again, I want to preference everybody. Obviously, I'm not a CIG employee. I do not speak for the ship teams or any of the developers. I am simply speculating, just as you are, on the information we're given. I could be wrong. I very well could be wrong. We just have to read into it the best we can, okay? So what I read into that is that because it's continuing through Greybox right now, some point at the end of July, probably towards the end of July, I would think there, or sometime in July, there's going to be a Greybox review gate for the Anvil Paladin. Okay, I would imagine as it starts, if that review gate gets greenlit and it succeeds and moves past that, it's gonna then move into the next phase. Which, let me bring up this chart, which is kind of old, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. Okay, we're kind of in this gray box area right here. I think the gray box review gate, by the way, and again, I could be wrong here. I believe the gray box review is what we're seeing sort of down here, right? Which is that gray box final approval or gray box complete. I think it's somewhere down in here, I think is what that review gate is. I guess it could be further up, but I think that's what it is. Or maybe it's this review one. But where I'm essentially going with this is I think the gray box review gate is sort of final approval for it to move on to the next phase, okay? Which is moving on over to here. See, here's the thing. This is gray. This section's gray box here. This is for larger ships that have an interior. We do know the Paladin has some sort of interior, right? I'm not sure how much of an interior, but we've seen some of the interior. I'm not sure if the Paladin qualifies for a large ship interior or not. The Paladin, I think, is 50 some odd meters long, which is at the lowest, which is like the smallest of the large ships. So I'm not sure if its internals would be included here or included just in this first pass, and the gray box review we're getting in July includes the interior gray box as well. I would think it does for the Paladin. I would think it does, especially with the work that went on with the Asgard. I would think there's a lot of Anvil kit that can swing right over to the Paladin. Okay. By the way, I'm just going to say I've really been loving the Asgard. I know when that information of that ship was first leaking out, I wasn't too keen on it. I ended up picking one up, and I got to tell you, I love it. I really love that ship. It's like an oversized Cutlass Black. I've been enjoying the hell out of it. So yeah, Paladin, moving through that gray box review gate, it'll then start to move over into final art, okay? And then finally, flight prep. So think things like moving on into the downstream teams and all that stuff. Sound, audio, visual effects, all that kind of good stuff. So exciting news on the Paladin. If you were hoping for the Paladin this year, I think you can have some confidence in the fact that the Paladin will be landing in your hangar this year. Probably for CitizenCon or IAE, but it looks pretty promising that it's on a good track for release this year. Okay, Anvil Paladin. I know a lot of people are excited for that one. Hey, Turtle, hope you're well. It says here, pre-production began on the Gatak Raylan, which will continue between other tasks ahead of the ship officially entering production later this year. We're going to talk a little bit about this with the Kraken in a minute, but if you remember, this is something that the Pioneer also went through. I believe John Crew talked a little bit about the Pioneer. What was it, last year, going into sort of a pre-production phase where Fluid Pen Studios, thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. Salute to you. Where the ship goes through sort of I want to call it a reconcepting, but let's call it a concept check, where they sort of go through things, make sure it's up to current gameplay and metric standards, Even if the ship was built to metric, they still need to kind of go through and look at things and ask those questions, right? Does this fit with our new plans for, refueling or salvaging or any other mechanic, right? Component changes, whatever, what have you. So they're going to look at all that stuff with the talk railing. But the cool thing about this is they state that it'll go into production later this year, like official production, which means kicking off full on white box and gray box production. Now, I would love if John Crew or Ben Curtis could clarify this. If I speak to them again at some point, I'd love to ask them this. But I've always been curious if that pre-production and phase includes some level of white box work, or if that's purely working with just concept mesh type stuff, like early concept mesh stuff. I somewhat suspect that the pre-production phase includes white box work, or at least includes some degree of white box work. But I'm not 100% sure on that. That would be a question I'd love to ask those guys, though, or anyone on the ship team that's able to say that kind of information. So Raylan, really excited about this one. I personally owned a Raylan. I have melted it. I'm not really big on alien ships, actually. I don't think I own a single alien ship. However, the Raylan will be the one alien ship I do own. I love the look of it. I love the look of it from day one of its concept sale. I do still have the concierge paint, I believe, that came out with its concept sale, and I kept that. So again, I'm really excited for that one, and I'll definitely be picking it up, 100%. Death Trooper says the Kraken grew. We'll talk about that. But really excited. Pre-production, the Raylan. And here's the thing. I love that CIG, again, the ship teams have been doing some stuff that's not their usual MO, but I love that they're kind of giving us some hints on what is possibly moving into pre-production. Those early production phases. I don't know why that is. It could just be to be a little bit more forthcoming with the ships moving through the pipeline. It also could be that maybe they want to sort of get conversation on some of these ships that have not been talked about for a while on the forums and on other places. Maybe they want to get some dialogue running on that so they have stuff to read and maybe kind of take the temperature of the community on some of those things. And I say that as someone who does firmly believe that they don't need to take all community feedback here. I've seen some pretty ridiculous requests for the Kraken, for example, but it may be one of those things where they want to get some dialogue started on those ships by saying, hey, this is moving into pre-production, see what those conversations are about. So as they start to sort of reconcept this, they can sort of take the temperature of what the community's feeling about that particular ship. And that could mean a lot of things, maybe future variants or what have you. Says here a little bit of bad news. We got to get into some bad news here. Says here some of the team moved on to the Drake Kraken, with some areas receiving layout alterations to improve traversal alongside refinement to the modular Drake kit. Many of you will know that in the game files now there are kits. You can see them right in the game files. We've looked at some of that on stream here before. I believe there's a Drake kit, there's a Mist kit, there's an RSI kit, and those kits contain things like staircases, corridors, stuff like that. And this little bit of news obviously is a little bit of a bummer. Those of you know I am a huge Drake fan. They are my manufacturer. The Ironclad was a ship I was really looking forward to. It really is the perfect kind of ship for me. I was really hoping that was coming this year. I'm starting to get more and more doubtful. Not that it couldn't still hit, but I am a little... If they're still in that phase where we're doing layout alterations to improve the flow or improve the transversal, then I think the Ironclad could be a little farther off than we thought. Now, let me propose something to you. Do you remember this year when we did not get the Drake Defense Con? Which, by the way, boo, 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 boo. We did not get Drake Defense Con, but do you remember what it said in the messaging there? It said, we'll be back next year, bigger and better than ever, or something like that. You remember that? I could 100% see the Ironclad being ready to go for next Drake Defense Con next year in May. So about 10 months from now. And here's the thing. Do I wish I had the ship today or in October? Absolutely. But as a Drake fan, I want the ship to be good. I want it to be well thought. I want it to be. I want them to just get it done right. So if it's looking like that's going to be next year Drake Defense Con type ship, the Ironclads, both variants, I am more than happy to wait. I really am. I really am. Killer of 23 says, I thought the Ironclad was expected before SitCon. It wasn't really, it may have been expected by the fans. It was certainly expected by me. I think Info Runners and a few other creators that focus on ships, we sort of all thought that it was due this year, but that was purely speculation. We had no inside information. I can tell you right now, by the way, just so everyone is very clear, that while we do occasionally talk to ship developers, by and large, we don't know when a ship is coming any more than you do. We're speculating wildly. I mean, we may hear things that give us clues, but we're not told anything. And I wouldn't ask if I was talking to a ship, like if I had John Crew right now on stream with me here, I wouldn't say, "Hey John, when is the Ironclad release?" and expect him to answer that. Obviously, they're on their own pipelines, and more importantly than when it comes out, I want it to be right. The Polaris taught me one thing. I really love the Polaris. I still love the Polaris. I still love the Polaris. I think the Polaris deserves to win Best in Show this year. By the way, I think it is a massive achievement by the ship team. However, slight caveat there. I do think getting the the Polaris, out by last IAE put a lot of pressure on that ship team. It's obvious. It's obvious that some of the interior decal work, the captain's quarters and stuff wasn't quite ready for IAE. I personally am fine with CIG. I know it's a lot of pressure for those big sales events, but I'm personally fine with the ship team just taking what the time they need, get the ship right. I'm totally fine with that. C Daddy says no win questions. Yeah, no win questions. Hey, I had Paul Jones, former art director at CIG, and we had Gavin Rothery, contract concept designer for the Kraken, for example, and the Ironclad. They both have been on Starjump Station. Interviewed both. And the first thing I said to them was, I'm not going to ask you any win questions. I promise. No win questions, no trick questions, no gotcha questions. None of that. I'm pretty good at asking no win questions. This comes from having a good friend that's very high up at Bethesda, because I'm a big Elder Scrolls fan, and having a good friend that works at Rockstar in the motion cap. He's high up in the motion capture department, and I'm a big Grand Theft Auto fan. As much as I want to, I don't ask any questions. I never would. I don't want to get them in trouble. But anyway, that being said, the Polaris I still think came out really great. I would like CIG to take that time, though, with the Ironclad. The Ironclad is probably not going to be a daily driver for me, but it's going to be a weekly driver for sure. It's a ship that I'm really excited to own. I think the Ironclad design was designed for modern Star Citizen, I guess is the best way to put it. With the opening top, the layout, just how everything is sort of set up on the ship, to me feels like the ship was designed around how Star Citizen will play in 1.0 for sure. And I'm really excited for it. Also, Gavin Rothery is a hell of a ship designer. So a little concerned about the Ironclad. I don't think it's coming this year. I think it's Drake Defense Con 2026. I really do. I really do. Says here next, work progressed on 5 unannounced vehicles. 2 completed their white box phase and are now well into gray box. So still a little while on those. They got to go through gray box, go through downstream teams, final art, lot zero, all that stuff. And it says here, another is in its final stages of production, is receiving the finished touches and bug fixes ahead of its release. Another vehicle is from a prominent manufacturer entered production and is currently approaching its white box review. And a new variant also entered pre-production, which the team states may have the record for the fastest vehicle through the production pipeline. Now, they mentioned vehicles here, by the way. It's very possible that, because the one vehicle we haven't seen anything from that we were shown the silhouette of, right, was this one here. So one of those vehicles could be this. Okay, we were shown this silhouette at last year's CitizenCon by Ben Curtis and John Crew. So this is the only vehicle that still has a big question mark on it. We don't know. We don't know. Cosmic Turtle says, Starjump, do you think the Nautilus will have quantum interdiction snare mines? I sure as hell hope so. I really want the Nautilus to get a slew of different utility mines, for example. So we still haven't heard from this one. This one could be one of those unannounced vehicles, right? Especially from they say here, this one says a new variant entered pre-production, and this one says another vehicle from a prominent manufacturer. Though either one of those could line up well with whatever that ballista variant is, right? Moving along here, it says that in North America, the RSI Apollo Medevac and Triage reached the LOD 0 phase, with the devs ensuring the modular medical bays swap out. Uh-oh, did we just get raided? Oh my goodness, Dad Bod Nerd rated with a party of 133 viewers. Dad Bod Nerd, thank you very much. Salute to you. I hope you had a great stream. Thank you very much, Dad Bod. I got a Dad Bod myself, 9-year-old daughter, so I am definitely rocking the Dad Bod. Thank you for coming and bringing your community here. I really appreciate it. Everyone from Dad Bod's community coming over. While you're here, you may not know, but we're in the process of giving away an RSI Perseus. There are multiple ways to get in on this. You can go to the link in chat, right? Kaboom there. There's a few ways to enter for free. We're going to be giving that away at the end of July. Okay, RSI Perseus with 120 months insurance. Make sure to get in on that if you haven't already. Share with your friends. Again, go there. Bunch of ways to enter to win this ship. Awesome ship. We're going to get to the Perseus here too. We're currently going through the PU monthly report. For those of you that don't know as well and don't know Starjump, we are the makers of the Starjump Fleet Viewer. If you've never been to our website, make sure you go check it out. You can build your fleets and all that fun stuff. It's really cool. Great app. I think Starjump Starlet's still in chat. Please give her a salute. But yes, we are the makers of Starjump Fleet Viewer. We have a YouTube channel and a Twitter. Make sure you follow us all on there to get the latest news from us or what we're doing. I'm going to put our links down here. I do appreciate it. And yeah, thank you, Dad Bod Nerd, for sending your people over here. I hope you had a great stream. I hope I didn't miss you in chat here. Hopefully you had a great stream, though. I, again, really appreciate you bringing your community over. But yeah, we're going through the PU monthly report, everyone. We're talking about the RSI Apollo Medevac and Triage hitting LOD 0 phase. Again, going back to our chart here, everybody. LOD 0 phase is down in this area, I believe, over here in Final Art, as it before it goes to all the downstream teams and goes flight ready. So we're looking at sort of this stage right here, I believe, and or maybe it's here. No, I think it's here. I think it's here in Final Art. But either way, that means that the Apollo Medevac and Triage are very far along and getting close to release. Dadbot Nerd says it was good. I appreciate you and everything you've done for the community. Thank you very much, Dadbot. I appreciate you, man. Salute to you. Everyone, if you haven't, in my community, if you haven't gone over and checked out Dadbot Nerd, make sure you do that. I appreciate it. I am going to make sure... Yep, I'm already following. Yep, I'm following Dad Bod. Want to make sure. Want to make sure. Let's see here. Ironclad Cosmic Decoder says Ironclad has been confirmed for IAE. Is that true? Where was that confirmed? And how did I miss it? How did I miss that? Because I wasn't aware that was confirmed for a devs forum. Oh, okay, cool. If you have me on Discord, I'd love to know more. I'd love to know more. Shoot me a DM. Um, Cosmic Troll says, wasn't the Apollo in white box like a month ago? Maybe. Yeah, I think so. I think so. But I think the more interesting thing here was it says here that with the devs ensuring the modular medical bays swap out and behave as expected. So there, a little bit of a little bit more confirmation, by the way, that the Apollos are going to have medical bay reconfiguration via sort of a module swap out setup. I also think, by the way, everyone, thank you for those follows. I do appreciate it. I didn't call all of them out because they were coming in hot and fast. I do really appreciate it. We're only 19 follows away, by the way, for my big follower goal. So thank you very much. But what I wouldn't be too surprised to see is possibly some additional modular medical base setups beyond just what we thought the medevac and triage had. Again, that's a massive speculation, but all signs point to that. By the way, I know we got this RSI picture up here and we got this picture here. I am going to talk about those, but we're not to the ship that I think that is yet. Okay, we're not to that ship yet. And no, I don't think this is the Apollo. But RSI, Apollo, medevac, and triage. So the one thing, Luke Spew says I smashed that like button too. Thank you very much, Lux. I appreciate that. Am I saying that right? Lux Spew? Hopefully I'm saying that right. So one thing I'll say about the Apollo. I originally thought that we were going to get the Apollo when we got sending the Javelin overhead once again. Thank you for those follows, everyone. And thank you again, Dad Bod, for that raid. Really appreciate it. You sent the Kraken overhead first off, so that's awesome in its own right. But going back to the Apollo, I really thought we would get the Apollo when we got actor status tier 2, which, to the best of my knowledge, actor status tier 2 is going to contain further work on hunger, thirst. It's going to bring in things like hygiene. I believe actor status tier 2 also brought in the further medical gameplay as well as even things like cybernetics. We haven't heard anything about that, but what we did see was like a couple of years ago on the progress tracker, actor status tier 2 was being worked on. So I'd be really curious from CIG to know where actor status tier 2 is in development. Either way, that was going to be stuff that furthered your character's well-being and stuff. I do feel like that tied in heavily to more medical gameplay or even deeper medical gameplay. I was for sure thinking maybe the Apollo would be tied in with that release, and maybe the Apollo would allow for deeper medical gameplay than we get on things like the C8R, or the NERSA, or the C8, or the C8, or the Cutlass Red, etc. But I don't know. I do think we're getting the Apollo this year. The question will be, is the Apollo coming for a big event like CitizenCon or IAE, or is the Apollo coming for some sort of content-driven patch throughout the year? I don't know the answer to that. Let's see here. Let's see. What do we? Did I miss something in chat? Let me check. Okay. Continuing on. Says here, following the release of the Asperia, actually, real quick, before we move on, how many of you are excited for the Apollo? Again, interesting ship because it's medical focus. It's a niche. I don't want to call it a niche ship, but it's a ship that's got 2 variants with both variants tied to the same gameplay loop. We haven't seen that in a while. So since we haven't seen that in a while, I'm extremely curious if we could possibly get a third Apollo variant that's tied a little bit more to general purpose gameplay. I mean, that could technically It's not needed because it would eat into what the Zeus is. The RSI's already got a medium ship like that in the Zeus, so we don't need it. But I am curious if the Apollo will have a third variant. Again, thank you for those follows, everyone. Really appreciate you. Only 16 followers away now from our big goal. Appreciate it. So we'll see. We'll have to see what the Apollo brings with it. I do wonder if they're going to tie it to some sort of medical content-driven patch, though. All right, continuing on. Following the release of the Asperia Prowler utility, the team tackled some bugs with fixes due to land in Alpha 4.2.1. Obviously, going back, handling ship stuff. I think there's some stuff not on here, obviously, that the ship teams are obviously dealing with. We know that they work on the Wicklow ships and a lot of that stuff. If you look into even 4.3, which we got some initial news on, there's more Wicklow ships coming, which is really cool, by the way. Does the Apollo fit a Nursa? That'd be cool. I don't believe so. The Apollo is actually a little bit of a smaller ship than people think. So no, I don't believe it does. Charlie McAwesome says the Kraken, better than the Ironclad, better than the Raylan, better than almost better than the Apollo. That's so harsh against the Apollo. The poor Apollo, so harsh. Although I do agree with you that the Kraken and the Ironclad are like at the top of the list because I fully agree. I fully agree. Crimson Hawk says, Graham, did you ever end up dropping the link to your professional portfolio? I didn't because it's offline because I'm currently working a staff creative director position at a production studio. So I haven't had any need for my online portfolio to be up, but it is something I need to get back up. Crimson, keep reminding me over the next couple weeks. I will try to get that up. All right, moving along here. The RSI Perseus approached its gray box gate review as such. A lot of work was done to prepare anything that animates, such as torpedo launchers, for the downstream teams. Remember, everybody, the downstream teams can deal with everything from visual effects to animation, deal with some animation, audio, all that kind of stuff. So they're trying to get all the animation stuff in there so that visual effects and or audio people know what to cue off of for those sounds. But it approached its gray box review. It could be past its gray box review at this point. We don't know. I do think the RSI Perseus is moving rather fast because they've been able to tap in pretty intensely from the Polaris kit and other RSI ships. John Crew even said pretty recently that the ship would borrow elements from the Zeus, which is sort of that civilian design language, and borrow heavily from the Polaris, which is that kind of RSI military design language. And what I think we can read from that is that this image right here, which I'm going to open this up and we're going to zoom into it for a minute. This here, I believe, is an airlock for the Perseus. I could be wrong on this, but I feel like this is possibly an airlock for the Perseus. The reason I do is a couple reasons. One, the lighting. The aggressive kind of cold interior elements here remind me very heavily of the Polaris. And even some of the coloring right here, I remember seeing some Perseus label decal artwork that used that coloring as well. So again, I am thinking this is possibly an airlock on the Perseus. Remains to be seen, but I think this is possibly Perseus airlock, which means you can see some areas of the ship probably pretty far along, right? At the same time, let me zoom down here. At the same time, this next image down here, I think also could be from the Perseus. It could be. Again, couple reasons for why I'm thinking that. Could be wrong, but I do think this is... oh, thank you for the subscription, Tim S. Appreciate that. I think what this is possibly showing, though, if this is the Perseus as well, is that different parts of the Perseus are at different levels of completion, right? which is to be expected if it's passing gray box review. CIG said in a previous monthly report that the Perseus, while going through gray box, some parts of the ship look much further along because they're tapping into that kit. I think that's what they're seeing, what we're seeing here, and I think that's what they're trying to illustrate by showing us two images that are at kind of different levels, right? Echo One, thank you for that subscription, sending the Kraken overhead. Appreciate that. Very much appreciate it. Everyone that's followed tonight, thank you very much. We're only 16 followers away, everybody. 16 followers away from hitting my big follower goal, so really appreciate that. Yeah. I guess this could possibly be. No, I think yeah, I think this is the Perseus. That's what I think it is. I think it's Perseus. Could the weapon locker be the Paladin? It could be, but I guess I would expect the Paladins to be further along because wasn't that? Let's go back to it. Didn't they say the Paladin? Says here, continue through gray box with additional artists. Move on. It could be. It could be the Paladin. Do we have? Let's actually take a look at something really quick here. I want to bring up a page here. I'm going to go to the Paladin page here and go down to the cutaways. I wanted to look and see if we could see. Didn't they have an interior? I thought they had an interior image. Yeah, right here. It could be this back armory. Here's the armory on this, the suit lockers and stuff. Luftwaffe, Dr. Luftwaffe, thank you for the follow. It could be. It could be that. It's bound to have changed, but it could be. It does look different, though, to me. Yeah, Cosmic Turtle says the angles of the weapons area screams RSI. I agree. I think it's RSI. I really do. Let's see. It's Jojo TV says, I thought it was the Perseus at first, too, but apparently it lines up more with the Paladin's armory right when you enter the ship. Yeah, I could see it being either one. I could see it being either one. And Sir Berticus says same suit lockers as the Asgard. Yeah, that's a tough one. That is a tough one. I think we could all agree that it's either the Perseus or the Paladin. It's definitely not the Apollo, and I don't think that this is the Apollo. That looks mighty aggressive for the Apollo. I could be wrong on that. Farms plays poorly. Thank you for the follow. It definitely could be from the Perseus, but it does feel a little bit too hard edge, a little bit too aggressive for the Apollo. I'm pretty sure this has nothing to do with the meteor, which we did get some initial imagery for recently in a sneak peek. This one here. I've seen some of the meteor interior, so I don't think it's that. I'm pretty sure it's not that. But yeah. Perseus. Here's what I will say. I think the Perseus is on track for later this year. I think that does mean they have to push very hard on it. I think that the Perseus is definitely a focus. It may even be why the Ironclad was sort of paused here and there. We know they paused it a little bit for some Invictus ship work, but it could be that the Ironclads were sort of not deprioritized, but held up a little bit by continued push on the Perseus. I'm okay with that. Again, as a big Ironclad fan, I'm okay with that. I want the Perseus to be good. I want the Ironclad to be good. And again, you can't forget, CIG has, there's some other ships in development too that we already know about in the Silhouette video. But what's another big ship we know that they're toiling away on? The Pioneer, right? Last but not least here, it says here, lastly for ships, the Drake Kraken entered pre-production, with the team identifying areas from the original concept that need further attention to bring it to modern standards. Full production will begin later this year. All right. I know a lot of you are waiting on that. I know I was waiting on that. There's the old Kraken mug. You can barely see it. There we go. What does that mean? Um, the Kraken entering pre-production is something John Crew hinted at during the Invictus ISC, one that he did in China with Jared, or did for the Chinese bar citizen that was later broadcast to all of us. Um, and actually, who was that? LD Draco says that locker looks almost like the ballista locker. Damn, you know what? That could be the inside of a ballista. Ooh, Draco, you could be right. That could be it. It could be it. Um, but the Kraken has entered pre-production. Everyone, it is a big deal. Those of you that know me know that the Kraken is my ship. I love the Kraken. Always loved the Kraken. I had to work my ass off to get a Kraken, but once I finally did, um, I was super excited. And the Kraken going into pre-production is a big deal. I kind of mocked this up, by the way, kind of based off the silhouette image. But I've had a ton of people say to me, "Hey, the Kraken's going to grow. The Kraken is not to metric. The Kraken is going to get this. It's going to get that." I don't know if the Kraken is going to grow. By the way, I really don't know. I will say I don't think it needs to grow for a couple of reasons. And when I say needs to grow, I'm talking like 20, 30 meters. It very well may grow 5 or 10 meters just through production, right? But I don't think it will grow substantially. I had sent Gavin Rothery, who was one of the principal designers on the Kraken. He also designed the Ironclad, the Gladius, many other ships. I sent Gavin a message asking specifically if the Kraken was designed to modern metrics. Gavin replied and said yes, the ship is designed to modern metrics. Pretty much anything from like 2017, 2018 onward. I think 2018. And this ship was revealed or was developed in 2018. So it was kind of one of the first groupings of ships truly built to metric. Now, that doesn't mean it's not going to grow here, there, or whatever. It can. It could, for sure. I just don't think it needs to. Um, it what I think CIG is going to do in this sort of taking a pre-production concept look at it and sort of look at it from a standpoint of what needs to be modernized on it. What I ultimately think that means is things like freight elevators on the ship or cargo elevators. Okay. I think there's going to be cargo lifts straight on the deck that are going to be marked out. I think you're going to be able to put cargo boxes and they're going to go down into the deck, go all the way down to the tram, and then the tram will take them to the cargo bay. But those elevators aren't currently spec'd out on the ship, so that's something. PDC defense turrets. They may look at additional kits for the Kraken, much like the Idris got kits. They could look at things like egress and transversal routes through the ship, right? We already heard from CIG or John Crew stated, I think this is about 3 years ago during an Invictus show, all ship show. John Crew said that there's still a ton of unused space inside the Kraken, and they want to look at how to use that space. One of the things that was brought up was a medical bay. I know several of you will remember that. So very, very reasonable to think that Kraken will get a medical bay. Okay. Now that CIG has started to figure out what resource, the resource network looks like, what engineering gameplay looks like, I fully suspect the ship to get a Hebford. Thank you for subscribing 2 months in a row. Appreciate that. I fully expect the Kraken to get sort of an engineering pass, right? Where they look at how engineering and how the ship's going to be worked up from that angle. VT says, makes no sense that Kraken would not have a med bay. I agree. It's too big of a ship not to have a med bay. There's other aspects of the ship that they're probably going to work out. So, for example, I think it was stated in a place or two that the Kraken doesn't have any escape pods, right? That the ships on the deck are the escape pods. However, if you go back and look at the original concepting, one of the things I think it was Paul Jones or Gavin Rothery, one of the two, do state in the concept that the entire bridge was reworked to accommodate escape pods. So, are they rethinking that? Are they looking at things like PDCs, right? Are they, again, there's just so much to look at with a ship like this, a big monster ship like this. Remember, this ship's longer than an Idris. This ship's about 30 meters longer than an Idris. That's pretty substantial. Things like a Cutlass longer, right? It's a big ship. It's a monster. VG says, question, do you think Privateer or even Kraken become loaners for BMM? Possibly. It's possible. It's tricky. I don't know if the next big ship always needs to be the new loaner for whatever the other big ship is. You could also say, well, because here's the thing, we don't know if the Privateer would be coming out right away anyways. As a matter of fact, I don't think it would. I think we get the Kraken first. I think Pioneer later. Because we haven't heard anything about marketplace gameplay in a while since the CitizenCon presentation, but that was still like far off horizon stuff, right? Yeah. So, Kraken in pre-production. For those of you concerned if the Kraken is going to change its look through this modernization that they're doing, if it's going to somehow look different. I know a lot of people were talking about the ship was going to, be completely redone on the exterior. I don't think any of that's going to happen. I think CIG is going to try to retain what we see in the current Kraken almost to a T, minus a few little additions and nips and tucks. But I think the Kraken as a whole is going to look the way it looks. I don't even think the Kraken exterior is going to change as much as the Pioneer reconcepting exterior did. Which, remember, when the Pioneer was reconcepted and showed off to us at CitizenCon, its exterior changed a decent amount, but it still retained mostly the look of the Pioneer, right? When you look at it, you went, oh, Pioneer. You didn't think of it as a different ship. You recognized it as the Pioneer, but it did kind of change a little bit. I don't think the Kraken's even going to get that level of change on the exterior. I really don't. Draco says, do we need a Dragonfly hangar? So, again, that's another thing, right? The Dragonfly hangar may be rethought. I hope it's rethought. I think they need to move the Dragonfly hangar to the bottom of the ship and do something different with that room. I think the Dragonfly hangar can just be something where you store them in the damn cargo bay. I don't think it's going to be anything like that. I think the exterior of the ship, though, will be mostly intact. They may upgun something. It's possible. I don't think they will, but it's possible. Maybe some of the man turrets turn into remote turrets. I don't know. But I think the deck arrangement, the deck sizes, I think all that's going to stay intact. Info Runners, hello. Excuse says, I think it's going to be mostly internal stuff. Yeah, it's going to be mostly internal stuff. I don't think the medium pads, by the way, I don't think the medium pads need to accommodate every medium ship. I think those pads are specifically designed to accommodate the Cutlass series. You know what I mean? Which are Drake ships. I don't think, I know there's people out there that said, well, the pads have got to be able to accommodate every medium ship. Nope, they don't. They just need to be able to accommodate the Cutlass, which is what it was designed around. If you go back to the original concept documents, all the original concept work that Gavin Rothery, Paul Jones did, it's actually stated multiple times that it's made to fit 2 Cutlasses. Right? It's too hard to account for every ship. So, VG says, question, do you think the Ironclad will provide a lot of kit to the Kraken by way of panels, ladders, rails, doors, some engines, and maybe even cargo control bridge? Yeah, I absolutely will. I think it's going to provide a lot. I did it on a past stream, but I took the Ironclad and I took the Kraken and I kind of overlaid them on each other, and the command bridge on the Ironclad, the big like overlook command bridge, is almost perfectly the size of the Kraken main bridge. Like it lines up stupid close. So yeah, I 100% think it will provide to the kit. Then there's already a Drake kit, borrowing very heavily from the Corsair and the a lot of the current Drake ships. I think the Ironclad will bring a lot of stuff at scale for the Kraken. I know a lot of people are curious too when I think the Kraken is coming. Well, going back to what I said about the Ironclad and where it's currently at, I think we're going to see the Ironclad at DefenseCon next year during Invictus. Because if you remember that what I said about that terminology that they used at this year's DefenseCon, they said that, sorry, we're not here this year, but next year we're going to be back bigger and badder than ever. I think that's a little bit of a tease that next year at DefenseCon we're getting the Ironclads, right? With the Kraken going into production at the end of this year, which, by the way, 100% would mean the Kraken is a 2027 at the earliest ship. Okay? Of course. It's the biggest landable ship, right? So, yeah. Info Runner agrees. Yeah, same here for Ironclad. Yeah, I think Ironclad DefenseCon 2026, which would be perfect. That gets me excited. You know what? I want them to take their time on it. I want them to take their time on the Ironclad. I want them to get it right. It's going to be my weekly driver. I want it to be good. Take your time, get it right. And that positions it perfectly if they're starting production on the Kraken into this year, and the Ironclad's already far enough along that's releasing in May of next year. That really means they'll be able to, once they start production on the Kraken later this year, they almost get to start borrowing pieces from the Ironclad's production right away, right? Although the Kraken's going to have a lot of unique stuff on it too. Grim is now moist. Yes, yeah, I am super excited. You know what? There's three ships that I'm excited to follow along with their production. I'm really excited that yes, and that weird mini Corsair Verticus. Yep, 100%. I'm really excited that the Pioneer's in development. And I don't think CIG even has a plan for when it's coming out yet. I'm just glad they're thinking about it and working on it. The Kraken going into production this year and the Ironclad. Those three ships excite me the most out of any of the others. I could probably add Raylan on there. But those three ships definitely excite me. And with those three ships either in production or actively moving into production later this year in terms of the Kraken, I'm very excited. It's going to be a really cool year. Next year is going to be a year I'm very excited to follow along with ship production. With those updates, right? For those three ships. Right? Valacor says, what is this lie of an image? This is image is no lie now. That's the thing. It was a lie when I made it. It's not a lie now. Right? It's not a lie anymore. It's going into production. It's in pre-production right now. Right? I know someone asked a little bit about the air car. The air car, yeah, is a little transport car. I believe it carries is it 8 SCU or 12 SCU? I thought it was 12 SCU. Either way, it carries a certain amount of SCU through the bowels of the ship from the decks all the way down to the main cargo bay. Inforunner says, did you make this image, Grim? Yes, I did. I did make this image. This is my creation. I want to live in the fantasy of the Kraken being under development so bad that I made my own silhouette image for it. Hey, but here's the thing. Execute. I know you are a fellow Kraken captain, though, so I know your excitement will be the same as mine. Again, don't forget, everybody, here at Grimm's house, we rock full Kraken captain coffee mug right here. We sip our coffee from the deck of the Kraken, and we have a good time with it. Um, I don't know when the Pioneer will come out. Part of me wonders if the Pioneer will actually, or the Kraken will be before the Pioneer, and let me tell you why. For one main reason, the the Pioneer only really needs to release when CIG is ready to test space station building. Technically, um, it really doesn't have any other timetable on it that I would think. The ship also has a lot of really, it has quite, sometimes ships come online with like one new thing, like one new feature on them, right? Maybe it's their scanning gameplay or it's bounty hunting gameplay or whatever. The Pioneer has multiple things that are currently not available in game. I'll go ahead and list those out. Drones. It has major reliance on drones. It has a fabrication hangar, another thing we don't have in game. It has crafting stations, another thing we don't have in game. Ground-based resource extractors in the landing gears, another thing we don't have in game. Onboard refinery, again, another thing we don't have. So the Pioneer is a unique ship in that it's got 5 things we currently do not have in game that they not only have to integrate into the ship, but also put it into a ship from a manufacturer where we don't really even have any other big ships. I mean, maybe we do in Squadron, but we don't have any other big ships in the PU. That is a tall order. To me, that's a lot more complicated than the Kraken. So I think it is possible the Kraken could come before the Pioneer. I have no inside knowledge on that, by the way. I have no clue. Inforunner says, I'd say end of 2026 in like with Squadron 42 and 1.0 Starjump for Pioneer. I mean, I just don't see you might be right. I just don't see 1.0 being anywhere soon. I was going through the 1.0 stuff the other day, actually. Where was that? I had it up. Where was it? Yeah, right here. And there's just so much we still don't have for 1.0. I think it would be, there's just no way in hell that's next year. Just opening up Cortec, Star Sim, content instancing. Although in the PU monthly report, we did hear a little bit about some instancing work, which was kind of interesting. But dynamic server meshing, which we do know they're working on. Star Audio, Global Illumination, Genesis, which we did get some weather on, to be fair. Planet Tech V5. There's just taxes, insurance, guilds, reputation, death of a spaceman. There's just so much we do not have. Now, to be fair, there's a lot of this that's coming. We've seen parts and pieces of it. We've definitely seen parts and pieces of it, to be fair. We still got 2 star systems that need to be fully developed, right? Castra and Terra. I just think we're a long way off from 1.0, personally. So with that, I don't think there's any real like huge crazy push for the Pioneer. I think they got their time. They have time on it. I think they have time. If I had to, Gearcon, salute to you, buddy. Hope you're well. Salute. Nice to see you, Gearcon. Yeah, Guardian, you say it too. Def said the Pioneer would not be ready when crafting goes live, and we don't even have crafting or base building yet. Base building, I do think all that's coming next year. I hope, but we still have the hover trolley, the CSV-FM, the Starlancer build. We still have some other, base building things to come first. I just still think we're a way away. Excuse says, to be fair, they have more people on SC than previous years. Let's see what the end of this year brings. Yeah, I think that's a good way of looking at it. Look, I mean, Richard Tyrer was in chat the other day, and I said it when he was in the chat. I said, hey, I'm a big fan of the 1.0 vision. I really am, and I sincerely mean that. The 1.0 vision to me is awesome. There's still some missing stuff from it. For example, one of those things being a marketplace. I really hope CIG talks about player-controlled marketplace at some point, meaning like an auction house. I do think we need that. I really do. But so there was some stuff missing from the 1.0 vision, but I am very excited for it. I hope it's not far off. I would love for it to be in 2 years, but if I had to be realistic, I'm thinking it's 3 or 4 years away at soonest. It's just me. Trill says, question: what do you think about a totally untouched system specifically for us to build our bases? Yeah, I mean, I think we should. I think we should have something like that, or if not a completely untouched system, I would love for them to open up large asteroids that are just like within asteroid belts and stuff. Put some really big asteroids that we kind of don't have yet. Put some really big asteroids out there that are able to be built on. The space stations are going to bring a little bit of that flexibility, which I think is one reason why CIG wants to do space stations. Not only is it a good in-game goal, but it really frees up the building space. You know, I even saw recently someone say, "Man, we're going to run out of space on the planet. All the people building bases." But when you think about space and building space stations, I don't think we're going to run it. And again, you know, the space station we saw at CitizenCon, I think that's just the big one. I think we're going to be able to build small ones too. I just think CIG hasn't shown us that yet. Draco says, do you think we'll be able to log in on our bases? Absolutely. Yep, 100%. Yeah. So here's the thing too. If the Perseus comes out this year, and let's say the Ironclad is coming when, let's say that is coming Drake Defense Con next year. You know, it could be a good end of 2026 ship, the Galaxy. That could be their good end of 2026 IAE ship, right? With the Kraken and Pioneer being more like 2027 ships, which I think is much more realistic. I 100% don't think we're seeing the Pioneer next year. They just said recently that the Pioneer was still having concept artists work on it to fill out some of the room spaces a little better. I mean, if they still have concept people working on the Pioneer, that ship ain't anywhere near even moving into gray box yet. As a matter of fact, I think they said it was going through white box still. White box and some pre-concepting work, right? Yeah. Zero H says Pioneer is already more than half completed. See, that's one of those things. It's tricky to say that because when someone says it's halfway completed, does that mean half completed in terms of not only the ship mesh but its functionality, or does that mean halfway completed just from the geometry, like the 3D mesh work? Two very different things. I don't think they're anywhere near being complete on the ship in terms of functionality. I really don't. Hell, we haven't even seen most of the systems that are in the Pioneer yet, which I just listed off a minute ago. But you could be right, Zero, in terms of just the mesh. It could be. The mesh could be really far along. We just don't know. Right? Everyone, we've covered a lot. I was originally going to also go through tonight all the different events we've had over the last 6 months, but we've kind of run out of time tonight. But that's okay. We are going to cover that in a future episode. Okay, we're going to cover that in a future episode. I think we got time to cover that. We got time to cover that. I do want to remind everybody to go to the Gleam link, enter to win the Perseus. Giving that away at the end of July. I hope you all enjoyed the stream tonight. I enjoyed having you. Big thanks to Dad Nerdbod for the raid. Appreciate that as always. Showing up, bringing your community here. I do really appreciate that. Let's see here. Oops. Bear with me, everybody. Hang on with me here for a second. Hang on with me for a second. I'm going to send everyone over to somebody, and I'd love for you to give him some follows, if you would. Great guy. I want you to give him some follows. You've been all so generous with me. I'm going to send you over to this person. Please give them some love, some Starjump love, and all that. I would greatly appreciate it. We are going to raid Tree0311. Make sure you give Tree a little bit of love. Thank you very much, everyone, for hanging out today. Thank you for the follows. Thank you for the subscriptions. Thank you for the raids. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. You're all amazing. It's been fun to talk ships with you. Have a great night. Sending you over to Tree right now. Give him a follow. Give him some Starjump love. Appreciate it, everyone. Have a good night.